Girl, look in the mirror. Man, you so dirty. Yeah, you look so dirty. You were never worthy. Lately, it's you.
Welcome to the Jeremy Hill Show. If you're easily triggered, leave now because this is not the show for you. What I'm going to discuss with you right now in this reaction video, ladies and gentlemen, is something that's very sickening and something that is very tragic. I am going to talk about how our young black girls, our black daughters in the black community are living extreme lifestyles of debauchery and promiscuity. And I want to point out that a lot of the reasons are that they have no positive role models, that they are coming up in single parent homes, in the single parent homes, was most likely as a mother, according to the numbers, is most likely a single parent home that is ran by the mother. And I want to talk about how the mother is so lackadaisical when it comes to her parenting skills that she allows her child to do whatever she wants, to go out in the streets, sneak out, and don't have no type of consequence or punishments for that. So what I'm about to show you right now is a black lady who is an adult, who may be middle-aged, and she's going to tell you about her first encounter of having a train ran on her at the tender age of 14 years old. And it was at least 5+ that ran the choo-choo. Now, this video is for educational and instructional purposes, YouTube. And we about to get deep into this tonight. So let's go ahead and get started. 1 second as I pull it on your screen, y'all. Oh, get ready for this one.
Night. My mother, she actually went to bed early. So what I started doing was I snuck out the house. And I want to say it was probably about 11 o'clock at night. And I heard somebody say, psst, 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 come here, come here. So I walked towards the spitting sound, and this guy began to ask me questions. He was like, so like, what's your name? How old are you? I told him my name. I told him that I was 14. He was like, you're not 14. I said, I am 14. And then he asked me if I was a twerker. And at the time I thought a twerker was a prostitute. So I'm like, no, I'm not a twerker. He was like,
Now, I want you to understand something here. For one, the men that's talking to her are perverts. Because now, don't get it wrong, now, the young ladies now look so grown because of all the hormones in the food and because of how they are now dressing with makeup and stuff. And these younger girls are developing at higher rates than they ever did when I was growing up. When I grew up, a young girl looked like a young girl and a young boy looked like a young boy. Now young boys are like full-grown men, and some of these young girls are like full-grown women, okay? But I don't know what her situation or time that was, but I'm gonna tell you this right here. For her to be in them streets and to feel comfortable with a stranger talking to her like that speaks volumes to me. That lets me know that she's used to being around all types of random men, strangers. Now, I bet her mother was the type of mother that allowed all types of different men to come into her life that she's seen. They're probably one night stands, probably Pookie Ray Ray and Nook Nook would beat it up, maybe off and on boyfriend. So she was just too comfortable because most kids, at least they are taught when I was growing up, to not speak to strangers. So for a girl who is just now turning 14, almost a teenager, well, I guess a teenager, to feel that way towards a stranger, and then he talks to her about twerking, and she's cool with that, that says a lot to me. It says a lot to me. It should say a lot to you. Let's keep going.
like, yes, you are. So then he came up, he began to walk closer to me, and then he put his hand in between my legs. And because I was used to that, so I'm just like, okay. So when he did that, he was like, oh yeah, you a twerker. So get in the car and holler at my homeboy. So
She was used to have a man's hand between her thighs. At 14, she said, oh yeah, I was used to that. She wasn't shocked. Again, it goes back to what I said. She must have been around strange men growing up. And most of mama boyfriends might have touched on her kind of inappropriately as well, because she was just so calm with it. A stranger. And then he said, go get in the back of the car and holler at my homeboy. And there's no protest. There's no, man, F you, or I'm going to tell mama. Our children are not being watched over like they should be. And it's affecting and destroying the black community. The children are not the ones who need to learn how to be in control of their emotions or instructed or guided. Now the parents is in need of being taught of how to be parents. They need to be taught how to be parents now. And that's something. Let's keep going.
I'm like, okay. And age 14, I had never been penetrated. So when I got into the car with his homeboy, with his friend, I remember I opened the passenger door. So I got in the car. I wasn't even nervous. He began to touch me and caress like my breast and things like that. So I took my underwear off and we had sex. So essentially that was actually my very first time having sex with a man and being penetrated. So in the car with this man, I want to say he probably was like maybe 18 or 19. After I had sex with him, then the guy who first asked me to get into the car to talk to him, he got into the car and then he was like, hey, let's get in the back seat, and then end up having sex with him. So then when I felt that I was done, I began to like put my clothes back on and proceed to get out of the back seat of the car. There was another guy that came and he began to push me back into the car. And he said, oh, it's my turn. I'm like, okay. So had sex with him. And then once he was done, he got out the car. Then another guy got in. Once the fourth guy was done, then I got out of the car. The last two men that I had sex with, they asked me, could I come back with them back to one of their houses? And I did that, had sex with them in some backyard. And I believe at that time I had developed an addiction to that, an addiction to sex at that time, because it was like an adrenaline rush. I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have any of that. I was just out, just being silly. While I was walking home, there was another guy. He came, he was riding on a bicycle, and all these were grown men, and all of them again asked me the same question: what's your name? Where are you from? How old are you? And I'm like, I'm 14. And then they all say, no, you're not. No, you're not. I'm like, yeah, I'm 14. So the grown man on the bicycle, when he seen me walking home, he told me, he was like, you shouldn't be out this time of night. And I'm like, okay. So he said, I'm gonna walk you home. I said, okay, cool. He said, yeah, I just want to make sure you get home safe. So as we were walking, I had him and I like turned down the alley, because like in my mind I'm thinking, well, I'm not gonna let him know exactly where I stay, but it's late. So as we begin to walk down the alley, he got off his bicycle and then he grabbed my hand and then he lured me to someone else's backyard and then had me get in a certain position and then had sex with me. So that was the...
Oh boy, so she done had about 6-7 men that one night, about 5 or 6, and I think I don't know if it's a different occasion or the same, but 6 or 7 men where she understands that she developed an addiction for getting her cat smashed. Okay? Where was mama at? Where was daddy at? Most likely daddy gone somewhere. Daddy might be in prison, or she's one of them baby mamas that don't want daddy to come around. Something is weird with this situation. You know what I'm saying? And if you look at her, she don't look like much. She don't look like much at all. She's like a damn cafeteria lady at high school. They're about to serve you that long rectangle pizza. You know what I'm saying? But those women don't look like it, be some of the biggest freaks. And she got that from being a kid, man. That's what I'm saying. Some of these women should not be having children, y'all. They're not responsible enough. They're not you're hurting the community because you don't want to put enough time and effort in your children.
His backyard and then had me get in a certain position and then had sex with me. So that was the fifth guy, that first time for me having sex. Once I made it back inside the house, and I snuck back in through the back door and then got me a shower. It was probably about 5 o'clock in the morning, so I was out from 11 p.m. until about 5. I think they passed a law for school to start later for high schoolers, but at that time, you had to be to school by like 6:50 or so. So I just automatically jumped into the shower, washed up. I remember that first night, like just washing up and seeing a lot of blood on my washcloth and not really understanding it, but I said, hey, if this is what it takes for me to have a boy.
That's sad, man. Jump in the shower, your first time being with a man was with being with 5 different men in one night. Then you take a shower and you're bleeding all over the place. And you could tell that there was no real connection or attachment to the mother because nothing was said to the mother about it. And there's a lot of these young black girls that are going through certain type of situations and they would not tell their parents what's going on because they don't want to be ashamed. They don't want to get cussed out or anything like that. It's sad, man.
For that first night, like just washing up and seeing a lot of blood on my washcloth and not really understanding it, but I said, hey, if this is what it takes for me to have a boyfriend, I'm all for it. And
anything for a boyfriend. Lonely.
said, hey, if this is what it takes for me to have a boyfriend, I'm all for it. And when I did that, I would go to the same area. And each night, the crowd became larger. So they would have me get into the car and then into the back seat, and then guys would take their turns. So some nights it'll be 2 guys, and then some nights it'll be 20. And while I would be in the back seat with one of the guys, there'll be other men just banging on the window saying, hey, it's my turn, it's my turn. In the midst of this, while I'm out there wilding out, doing some crazy things, having sex with all these random men, I was in an abstinence program. My mother had us join the church when I think I was like 8, and I was very active. I was active in youth group and ushering. It was like I was literally living a double life. Sometimes even after class, some of the guys might be waiting for me, whether at the other house or in the car, or they'll be waiting for me in the bathroom, and then I would have sex with them in those random locations. And my parents, the whole time, they're thinking I'm going to the abstinence program. And I was so well at what I did, I excelled even in the abstinence program, that they had me become to speak at one of the main events, because they really admired just who I was, but not knowing again that I'm getting buck wild.
The reason I stopped there because she about to go into other stuff about church and stuff like that. It wasn't nothing about the topic at hand. But as you could tell, man, we got to do something about our kids in the Black community. I just wanted to report this because I thought it was a messed up story. Anyway, you let me know what you think about it. I already told you what I thought about it. Y'all be safe out there now. You hear?